All right, what's good, YouTube? This is BoxingWave. I just wanted to do a quick review of the fights that we saw tonight. All right, I didn't see all of the fights. I didn't see every round of each fight, but for the major fight, the majority of the rounds I did see, and that includes the Cameron McCaskill fight, the Bivol and Benavides fight, and the Morrel Jr. against that guy Aidos. I don't want to try to butcher his name. Your I think that's the way you say it. Anyway, so I'm just going to give you a quick review. All right. It's really late. It's almost 2 in the morning. Be sure to set your clocks back. All right. And I'll probably upload this like first thing in the morning. I don't want to upload it because I know you guys are probably all asleep, especially if you're out in the UK. But all right. So look, let's start with the Cameron fight against Jessica McCaskill. All right. This fight was undisputed down at 140. And McCaskill had came back down to 140 to fight to challenge the unified champion and Chantel Cameron. And look, really strange fight, especially early on. Didn't really go the way I thought it was gonna go. Didn't think it was nearly as competitive as I thought it was going to be. Okay, especially early on. I think in the later few rounds, I think it was a lot more competitive, but the first half of this fight, I feel like Chantel just dominated the fight. She did everything that I said she needed to do to win. You know what I'm saying? Staying light on her toes, you know, having that bounce, moving laterally, you know what I'm saying? Not just going back and forth in straight lines. She was setting some good traps, was catching Jessica. I see she was just recklessly just lunging in. So, you know, it was good. It was good time shots, good, clean, eye-catching shots landed. And she also was getting the better on the exchanges a lot, too. You know, Jessica, to be honest, you know, and I was on Twitter when this fight was going down. So I was live tweeting and I was leaving my tweets, but I was also reading a lot of the tweets of the people that were watching the fight. And, you know, a lot of the fans were saying that Jessica pretty much fights like that with every single fight. And I get where people are coming from because she's always been like really rough and rugged. And, you know, like I said earlier in the video that I did, I said she's sort of like the female Sean Porter. But to be honest, man, if you just look at the first few rounds, especially even the first round, she didn't look good at all, like at no points of the fight. It didn't really look good until like the last couple of rounds to me. She was coming in, you know, recklessly like she normally does, but I don't know. I seen a lot of stiffness in her. The balance was totally off, you know, and even though Chantel, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Chantel because she boxed good and I think she did everything she was supposed to do, but Jessica McCaskill looked terrible. She looked terrible tonight, you know. And I was doing some field study. I was watching the Katie Taylor fight. You know, I was watching some of her more recent fights. I just never seen her look that bad, you know. Again, she's kind of always looked like this. So, yeah, I agree with you from there. But she looked really bad. Maybe it has to do with age. Maybe it had to do with her coming back down in weight at her age. She is 38 years old. But I just never really thought that, you know, from the fights that I've seen of her, this is probably the worst she's ever looked, in my opinion. But Chantel, again, going into the fight, we knew that she was the better boxer between the two. You know, very clean, accurate puncher, you know, good boxer. She's just a good boxer and had solid puncher power, too, with that. I think the one key thing going into the fight was the lack of experience because Jessica McCaskill definitely had the better wins on her resume. You know, but yeah, I don't know, man. I'm thinking like I was just watching the Cecilia Brækhus fight and the Katie Taylor fight. I just was like, yo, what I saw tonight wasn't that same person, you know. But we could debate on that if you want in the comments. Definitely let me know how you feel about that. I think that's the main thing. We already know who won and who won clearly. I think I might have gave her I think there was one of the rounds that I gave to Jessica in the second half, which was a swing round, right? A generous round. I think the last 2 rounds I might have gave to Jessica. But overall, though, I mean, listen, it was still somewhat competitive in the second half because she did land some big shots, and she was able to cut. She was able to cut Chantel like on the nose, I think. You know, so she definitely landed her shots and everything, especially when Cameron started like slowing down a little bit. But for the majority of the fight, man, Jessica looked pretty bad, you know. And when you give, you know, when you're a fighter, and I said this as well, when you're a fighter that is that rough and that physical, you got to come out fast. Once you coming out slow and you giving up like the first 5 rounds, it's over. You know, it's pretty much over because in my prediction, I said she tends to slow down like the second half of each round. But here, I mean, from the opening bell, she just looked stiff. She looked unbalanced. She looked bad. You know, I even tweeted at some point, she didn't even look like a real boxer. You know, she was just, the way she was swinging, it looked like some street fight videos that I've seen, like you will find on World Star, you know. I mean, I like her. I really do. I know that's going to come off crazy, but I'm just going to keep it real. Like, she didn't look good at all. You know, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. All right. So, anyway, congratulations to Chantel Cameron for becoming undisputed at 140. And good win for her. You know, I don't even think she was that crazy impressive, you know. It wasn't a good fight. A lot of it had to do with McCaskill, but at the end of the day, Chantel did what she had to do to win the fight, and that's that. Also, let's move on to the next. I watched the David Morrell Jr. fight, and for the most part, you know, I think there was a few rounds that I missed, but, you know, for the most part, whatever I saw, he was dominated. I spoke on him earlier, and I said that this fight was probably the best opponent he's faced. And I do believe after watching the fight, even though he was so dominant in this fight, I still believe that your Borsalnuli, right, was probably the best fighter that he's faced, even with the dominant performance. What I was looking to see in this fight is if Morrell was going to step up in opposition and even show us more what he can do, and he delivered. Like, he gave me everything that I needed. You know, I was like, I've been watching him. I like him, you know, as a prospect. I mean, he's not even a prospect at this point because he's like the WBA world champion, which is like the WBA junior champion. You already know that Canelo has all the full belts at 168 because he's undisputed. But real talk, though, I think that Morrell stepped it up. He looked great. He showed us more of what he can really do. You know, he showed his boxing ability. He showed his explosiveness. He showed his power. He showed his speed advantage. He showed us great angles. That's a key thing, too, with the fight. The angles that he was showing us, you know what I'm saying? The reflexes and his defense. I like what he was doing. You know, he showed us a little bit of his inside game. You know, I just like everything. You know, he seems like he's coming off to be the complete package. I like that he's upgrading as he's moving forward. We were just talking about Edgar Berlanga, and I was saying, like, you know, not for nothing, up to this point, I was saying, like, yeah, Morrell looks better to me because, you know, if we're comparing Morrell to Berlanga's last few fights where Berlanga stepped up in opposition, I was saying, like, okay, well, Morrell looks better. But I feel like the opponent that he's faced tonight is on the same level as some of the people that Berlanga fought recently. You can make an argument he might be a little better or a little worse, but whatever. And I think Morrell stepped up with the opposition he faced, whereas Berlanga kind of like, well, as soon as he stepped up, he's kind of like looked like he fell off, or maybe he wasn't as good as we thought. You know, so I do believe Morrell. I am a believer now, a full believer now that Morrell's the real deal. And, you know I said earlier, you know, I didn't really like the David Benavidez talk because I thought it was a little too soon. But now at this point, no, it's not too soon. You know, you are the WBA world champion, not the super champion, but the world champion, the junior champion. And I think he showed us all his tools today as he stepped up in opposition. And that's what I like to see. I want to see guys step up, but in opposition, but I want them to step up in performance as well. And he did just that. Like, this was the best performance I've seen from him up to this point. I know he knocked out everybody else except Lennox Allen, you know, but when I go back to the Lennox Allen fight, which is what I saw the other day, I was like, yo, he's good, but I just want to see more. Tonight, he showed a hell of a lot more. Like, he's he's legit, in my opinion. All right, so it was a good win. I loved it, and I can't wait to see. Now I'm super hyped up for him. You know, I wasn't on a train yet, like some of y'all. Like, some of y'all listen to y'all. You know, I read the tweets and all that. I've been reading them. I've been reading the comments. I wasn't on a hype train yet. I was watching them. I like what I saw, but I wasn't on a hype train yet. I feel like I'm there now. And yes, there's still more challenges to come. You know, I think that's his 8th professional fight. But I love what I saw, you know, because he brought out more of what he can really do against the opponent that was, you know, that was a solid fighter. You know, based on what I've seen with his fight with Lennox Allen, because all I did was pretty much just watch their common opponent because they were both recent fights. I was like, all right, you know, I like Morrell. I think Morrell is better, but I think this guy could give him some trouble. And he handled him throughout the fight and was able to stop him late. So very, very good performance with Morrell. I saw some of the undercard fights on that Showtime card. I saw J-Rock. I saw a little bit of that. You know, J-Rock picked up a decision win. I don't know his opponent's name. I know he was a journeyman, but good win for J-Rock. I see that he went the full 8 rounds. I just wanted him to get back on a winning, you know, just get a win, just get a W, and we could see where we go. I think the fight was at 160. But I'm just glad to see J-Rock because at one point he was one of my favorite fighters at 154, real talk. I got plenty of old footage, or not old footage, but old content talking about J-Rock. I love J-Rock for real. Not so good for, I didn't see the Nate Gallimore. I forgot the Ukrainian fighter's name. I didn't see that fight, but I was able to see some of the Jason Rosario fight. And he got pretty much dominated in that fight against, can't remember the gentleman's name, but Jason Rosario was another guy that's been taking losses. He came back. He tried to go up to 160, and he got stopped. I seen him get knocked down with a body shot. I think the knockout was like from an uppercut or something like that. So Jason Rosario is crazy to look at all these guys from 154 that used to be top dogs in the division, you know, either moved up, you know, for Rosario, from J-Rock, from, you know, like Jarrett Hurd, you know, a lot of guys, some of them are still okay, like Lara's still doing okay. You know, Jamal moved up to 160. You know, Andre, we don't really know what his situation is going to be, but it's crazy how Jamel Charlo is the one that is on top of the throne at 154 out of all these years, you know. But yeah, you know, it's not looking good for some of the former guys and some the former top dogs at 154. But, you know, so let's get to the main fight. Let's get to the fight that you guys came to see. Dimitri Bivol defeats Zurdo Ramirez. And, you know, I was able to watch the whole entire fight. I think there might have been like one round that I missed. One of the earlier rounds, I think, or middle rounds. But I mean, I think I gave. No, you know what? I did watch. I can't remember, but I thought there was one clear round that I felt that, and it might have been the 10th round. I think there was that one clear round that I think Bivol took off that Zurdo actually won. All right. I think there was a round or maybe a round or two that might have been, you know, because I know that we were debating that on Twitter tonight because I was live tweeting as I was watching the fight. I think a lot of people agree with the second and third rounds that Chris Mannix gave to Zurdo. All right. So there was a lot of people on the Twitter timeline that gave him those rounds. I had Bivol up like just about every round, you know. I think there were some rounds that were closer than others because Zurdo definitely landed some shots. But I felt like offensively when I look at both Defensively, I just felt like Bivol was doing better throughout the entire fight. And I felt like offensively, he was doing better too. And I know that Zurdo had his moments, but the problem was, and I said this very early, I said this after the third round, I was like, listen, Zurdo is not going to win this fight, or this fight is not going to be competitive if he's not coming forward. You know, whatever round, I think that 10th round where Bivol looked like he kind of took the round off and he had his back against the ropes and he had that high guard. It just seemed at that moment that even in that moment, it seemed like Zurdo couldn't really get his shit off. You know what I'm saying? He just really couldn't get a good rhythm going. You know, he landed some body shots here and there, but outside of some jabs and a couple shots landed in some of the exchanges he had, it's crazy because you had the smaller guy. As soon as the bell rung, you see that Bivol was much smaller than him, right? Much, 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 much smaller than him. And he's backing Zurdo up. Now, I realized that, and I was like, okay, I'm sure that Zurdo at some point is going to start pushing forward. And there were moments that he did, but even in those moments, it was for a very short period of time, you know? And I think one of the points where, because it looked like he got hurt a few times, you know? I mean, he got rocked with a good shot. Like, he recovered, but there was a few points where he got really rocked for real. And Bivol never was hurt, you know? Bivol hurt him with hit him with the harder shots. Bivol outworked him. Bivol outboxed him. You know, he bullied them at points. All right. And he was the better in the exchanges, you know? And I felt like I made a funny tweet because Chris Manning said something like, you know, there was an exchange that they had where Bivol was clearly winning the exchange, but for whatever reason, the commentary was like, yo, this is the kind of fight that Zurdo wants. This is Zurdo's kind of fight. And I'm like, Zurdo's getting punched in the face. He's getting measured. Once Bivol started like measuring him and hitting him with right hands and had Zurdo on the ropes, I was like, yo, like Bivol is really in his bag right now. Like he's having a fun time, you know? At least in the Canelo fight, even though Bivol dominated most of the rounds, at least it was still competitive. Like when Canelo was doing his thing, he was doing his thing. He really forced Bivol on the ropes at times, you know? I mean, even though Bivol won clear, I felt like the fight was still way more competitive. You know what I'm saying? At the moments where like Canelo wasn't gassed out, Bivol was doing better. But in this fight here, it just seemed like Zurdo was getting toyed with. Zurdo, he made it look big, like he made it look easy, and Zurdo was clearly way bigger than Bivol. You know, he brought him back down to him being a very regular, normal fighter. And even though I picked Bivol to win, and I made money tonight, you know, I've been really good with the predictions, you know. I mean, yo, I'm saying, you know, hit me with them donations, man, because I know I'm making y'all a lot of money in these picks lately. You know, I've been having weekends where I'm getting 4 or 5 out of 5, 4 out of 4. You know, a couple picks that I made this weekend, I was good. But yeah, what I said, I was losing track. But yeah, I said that, you know, Bivol would win by decision or points decision, but, you know, I didn't think it would be this easy. You know, I thought Zurdo and his size, his power, his body shots, I thought he would do something, but we never got that. You know, again, he had his couple moments in some of the rounds, but even when he had moments, and then there were rounds where I felt like he was up and around, and then Bivol would just ambush him and hit him with like a 2 or 3 piece, and I feel like he was still some of the rounds, you know, just because Bivol was just, whenever he was on the offense, he just was just connecting, and the shots were cleaner, and he would back Zurdo up. It just seemed like his shots were way more effective. Him being a smaller man, him not being a KO artist, you know, he did what he did. You know, listen, doesn't mean Zurdo's overrated. He might be a little bit overrated based on some of the comments that he said, based on some of the comments that his promoter said, some of the comments that the fans were saying. You know, I made a tweet as well. It's like, yo, I remember reading comments about people saying that Bivol was ducking him. You know, Bivol was ducking Zurdo because Zurdo's been calling him out and they sparred and all that. There were comments that said, people that were saying that Canelo was ducking Zurdo as well. You know what I'm saying? So, and even though Canelo didn't get the win tonight, it's not like Canelo fought him himself. So I don't want even want to go there. But at the end of the day, I could see why people could think that Zurdo's overrated, but I still want to see Zurdo fight the very best at 175, just to see how he really is, like how good he is. I want to see him fight the Callum Smiths or the Anthony Yards of the world, or the Joshua Buatsis of the world, Arthur Beterbiev, Marcus Brown, all those guys, Joe Smith Jr., all these guys are still around. John Pascal, all these guys are still around. So I still would like to see those guys. Unfortunately for Zurdo, as good as he looked at 175, he didn't fight the best guys at 175. He just didn't. He fought some solid fighters, but, it's still a lot of unanswered questions when it comes to him, So with all of that being said, Bivol, to me right now, he's one of the greatest fighters in the world to me. I think he is fighter of the year as of right now. I don't know what other major fights we got this year, but right now, looking like Bivol is probably my fighter of the year. He beat Canelo and he beat Zurdo, who was undefeated, all right, much bigger man. And I'm very impressed with Bivol right now. He's looking like he can do it all. Defensively, he's one of the best out there. Offensively, I mean, he's got a great range of skills. His overall talent is just good. He looks like, he could be a really defensive guy, and be safety first, but he could be very, aggressive too and be a bully to guys that are bigger than him, Everybody was talking size, and yeah, it was a factor because we felt like Canelo maybe might have not been big enough, but then they put a bigger man in there. Not someone that's as skilled as Canelo, but someone that's skilled enough that I felt was going to give Bivol some pushback, and he wasn't able to do it. So Bivol, to me, right now, is fighter of the year. I think he's one of the best fighters in the sport right now, period. I think as far as accomplishments, I know Beterbiev has more titles and stuff like that. I know he has more knockouts. But as of right now, you know what? I don't even want to go there because I literally changed my mind after every performance. I think I started with saying that I thought Bivol was better. But then there was a period when I think maybe when Beterbiev beat Vosdick, I was like, oh, Beterbiev is better. And then more recently, I said, I've been going back and forth because once I know I probably went back to Bivol, or maybe I stayed on Beterbiev. But then when Bivol beat Canelo, I might have went back. But then when what's the name, Beterbiev beat Joe Smith the way he did, I was like, nah. When I went to that fight live, and I was like, nah, no way Bivol beat this dude. This dude's just too strong. But now watching this performance, it's like, well, damn, man. Like, let's just say Beterbiev can't get him out of there, I just don't know. I really don't know. We just got to have to see them fight. Like, I don't even want to go into that conversation. Maybe we could. Maybe in another video we could talk about it. But I don't know, bro. I just don't know. I've gone back and forth. Just like I've gone back and forth with like Joshua and Wilder over the years. But this fight here, I think I literally have gone back and forth at least 5 times for these two. That's why they really need to get it on. Like, it's time. Right? It's been time, but it's really time right now, And I don't want Beterbiev to get aged out, But the problem is with Beterbiev is like with every fight when it comes to him, it's like there's always some delay with every fight. He gets injured. He's injury prone. So even if they schedule a fight, they announce a fight, deal is done, he's probably going to get injured and the fight is probably going to get rescheduled before he actually fights. So anyway, I do want to talk about this some more. But I'm just, I don't know what he said in his post-fight interviews. I didn't listen to any of them. So I do want to talk about some more things and more potential fights. Do want to talk about Canelo. I know people talking about a rematch. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick review of tonight's fights, at least the ones that I've seen. And yeah, that's it. So yo, I'm out of here, man. It's really, really late. Oh, it was 2 a.m, but now it's 1 a.m. But anyway, I'll be back with more content, man. Just be on the lookout. I'll see y'all soon, man. Hit that thumbs up, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. I'm out. Peace. Have a good night.